Another edition of the CBB Super Show. I am your host, Walter Riddell, aka Dub Deuces 85, and I'm joined as always by my co-pilot and partner in crime, Pete Cole. I have another 16-game breakdown, day 2 of round 1. Lots of upsets yesterday, lots of good stuff, lots of money made yesterday. So feeling good.
Let's go. We got a lot of games to get through. Good job yesterday. I seen you hit Bink the GBP, right? So let's keep it up. Good job, everybody.
Yeah, I took the afternoon slate, took that one down. You know, that was the lineup that I wanted to run on main, but I was too scared because remember we talked about Hartford and we were like, we can't run both, but we were both really high on them. That lineup had both Hartford guys, Williams and Carter, and then 3 Oral Roberts, and that was the stone cold nuts. So running those mid-majors or low-major teams definitely worked. We're back with some other mid-major guys that we're going to talk about here. If you're watching live, looks like there's over 20 of you right now and going up. Thank you for joining us. The right-hand side of your screen on a live chat is where you can post questions, comments, concerns, call us big dummies, whatever you want to do. Just post it there. And yeah, thumbs up the video. It really helps us when you do that. Helps more people see it. But we're going to just jump right in. At the end, we'll have prize picks too. And a lot of you guys were grinding the prize picks. We did go 2 for 3 on our prize picks yesterday. So if you flex those, you did make a little bit of money. But first game on the slate, let's just get right to it. Also, before that, 2 other people on our sub line. One guy won the 44, one won the 5. So lots of GPP tournament binks yesterday. There's 3 or 4. So we're going to go for a bunch more today. So first game on the slate here, Georgetown versus Colorado. Georgetown had that Big East run. They're very hot. Perhaps they're going to be like Oregon State. We saw Oregon State pull off a big upset yesterday over Tennessee, controlled them totally. I could see that happening with Colorado, but Colorado is a much tougher team mentally than the Vols. Ken Palm has a 72-67 in favor of Colorado. They're 280 at tempo ranking, Georgetown 113. I don't really have any plans to use anybody in this. You know, I put that note in the write-up. The only real main team player I could possibly be talked into would be, you know, Chedier Bilal. I know we're calling him Bile for a while, but it's Belay. And he's only 5'7". He's had 20-plus fantasy points in 6 of his last 7 games, has a very high usage rate, over 24%, shot rate over 23%. And he's really kind of made Jamarco Pickett less of a fantasy option. Pickett's only 6'8", which without Belay would be a great option, but we've seen Belay cut directly into his scoring. And the emergence of Dante Harris as well. So the Hoya side really isn't that appetizing, even though I do think they have a chance to continue their Cinderella run, if you will. That Colorado defense just scares me a lot. Colorado is, of course, spearheaded by McKinley Wright. They did price him up. They did a good job pricing him up. I hate running into a chalk McKinley Wright when he's like 7'5", because he's a slate breaker, definitely. But at least now you have to decide if you want to run him at 8'6". I think his ceiling here is probably around 35, which is fine, but I think we can do better. So this is too rich for me, but he does everything for this team. He'd probably be the only Buffaloes player that you'd want to use. He has a 26% usage rate, a 25.2% shot rate, and a 36.2% assist rate. It's also drawing over 4 fouls per 40. So expect him to score a lot of points. It's just opportunity cost-wise, can we match him for less? And then the only other Colorado guy that I would use, future star Jabari Walker. I'm a big fan of his. He's 4'4". I think if you're running multiple lineups, he can certainly be used. I expect him to play more minutes today. They're going to need his offense. He's got really good rates for somebody who only plays, 15 minutes a game. 26% usage rate, 25.5% shot rate, offensive rebounding rate over 12%, 27% defensive rebounding rate. He's also knocking down almost 50% of his triples. Granted, he's taken 37, but he missed part of the season with an injury. So Jabari Walker is maybe your sneak play. Everybody was asking me for the Trevel and Queen play yesterday. It was Blake Preston from Liberty at 4-3. He actually came through with 25 fantasy points. Jabari Walker is not today's Trevel and Queen play, but I do think he's sneaky nonetheless. What are you doing here?
Yeah, the only play I see, I really think you can run Dante Harris in cash, though. I think he's become a player with a decent floor, and he's going to give you almost 40 minutes a game, 5,200. I like that kid. You don't have much of a ceiling with him, but he's not going to hurt you. So, I'm more of a cash player. I would have no problem having somebody in your lineup. I'm probably staying away from most of his early stuff. McKinley Wright, this may be the first time I actually don't play him on a slate. I usually play him. I'm a McKinley Wright fan. I love the over 30% usage, but you can definitely play him. I think 86 is appropriate, especially when he's been, over 10K, over 9K. So I think he's in play also. But this is both these teams kind of got good interior defenses. So It's not a huge DFS game. One more name, though, Deshaun Schwartz, one of my faves. You can always get hot in GPPs, and he's only 4,700. We've seen this. You got a game winner, a week or two ago. If I'm making more than 3 or 4 lineups, I'm going to throw Schwartz in one. Just you never know. At that price, he could get hot. So, but for main lineups, maybe Harris in the cash, maybe Wright playable, but I'd probably be moving on to the next game.
All right. UNCG versus FSU. Ken Palm has a 78-68 in favor of FSU. They're 84th in tempo ranking. UNC 174th. For Greensboro, it's really Isaiah Miller. He's a big-time stud. We've seen him on the slate before. He's put up 50s. I think he's definitely one of those players that can create some, March Madness moments and potentially pull an upset on FSU. It's not the best matchup. FSU is going to run, 10, 11 guys out there. They're not going to be tired because of it. I think that Miller, we could see him get a little tired out from all these, long athletic FSU guys they have. But still, a stud is a stud, right? He's the 4th best usage rate in the country at 35%, 6th best shot rate at 35.5%, 6th best steals rate in the country. He's got a top 60 assist rate, draws 5 fouls per 40. He is shooting below 70% at the foul line, which could become very crucial down the stretch if the game is close. You guys know I harp on free throws a lot, especially in March. But I think he'll give us enough volume to have a shot at 50 plus. But he's definitely more of a GPP option as opposed to running in your main lineup, just because I think it's a big opportunity cost against an FSU team that does turn it on in March. They haven't really impressed us lately, but in March, Leonard Hamilton always has these guys primed for a Sweet 16 or Elite 8 run. So, I made the mistake of picking against Jay Wright yesterday, and he made us pay shorthanded. Best coach in one of the best coaches in the country. Say what you will about Hamilton during March Madness, he gets his guys ready. So Miller would really be the only option I'd run. There's a couple of GP guys like Hayden Caval, Keyshawn Langley, both under 5K. If you're looking for some upset potential with UNCG, I'm not on this game today betting wise, but those guys could definitely get hot and make things happen. For FSU, Raekwon Gray is down to 6'7". Balsa Capricia has been really hot lately, so people might be looking at him. But Gray, in the last 2 games, he's been pretty bad. The first half, he had early foul trouble in both, kind of limited his minutes severely. I expect him to be up over 30 minutes again here at only 6'7". He's got big upside. Of course, running an FSU guy in your cash lineup is very dangerous. We've done it with Barnes. We've done it with Gray. Malik Osborne here or there, but it's really a tough situation to try and guess for your main. And on a 16-game slate, I don't want to get caught with my pants down having Raekwon Gray getting me like 22 fantasy points or less. So probably won't use him in main, but I don't have any issues with it. If he plays over 30 minutes, he should detonate his price pretty easily. He's had a couple games over the 40-point threshold in the last month. One of them was 50-plus performance, granted against Wake Forest. But his usage rate's hovering around 23%. Got a combined rebounding rate of 28%. It's a big-time contributor on the defensive end. He has a 3.5% block rate, a 3% steal rate. He's making 80% of his free throws, so he can definitely produce points down the stretch. And then you got to decide on Scotty Barnes, 7-4. He's been coming off the bench, but he plays enough minutes to really get there. He hovers around 23 to 26 minutes. He's still churning out 28-plus fantasy points. Just imagine if Barnes would have went somewhere that played him 38 minutes, he'd probably be a 10K guy. He's that good. He's a usage rate of 26%, shot rate over 23%, offensive rebounding rates over 8%. His assist rate's top 40, and then he has a 3.4% steals rate, and he gets himself to the line 4.1 fouls per 40. So Barnes is a nice GPP option here. If Miller can keep it close, we could see a battle between those two guys, and I could see Barnes possibly taking over. It kind of almost feels like FSU's in the San Antonio Spurs a little bit. They sleepwalk through the regular season a little bit, and then all of a sudden they're going to turn Barnes and Gray loose and play them big minutes. And if that happens, both of those guys could put up slate-breaking scores today. Just a matter if you believe that or not. So that's where I'm at with this game. What say you?
Yeah, there ain't no way am I touching Gray in a cash game. I don't. I think he's projected too high. Where I'm seeing this morning, I see a lot of people gaga over him, but Scotty Barnes, different story. I could see if FSU is going to advance and succeed in this tournament, they need Scotty Barnes, and they need him to play his best basketball. Which I think. Last weekend he did well. When they lost to Georgia Tech, he scored 21 points. But once again, it's the Leonard Hamilton guy, 2nd year in a row. He's gonna have a big player. He doesn't start. So Barnes is GBP. Isaiah Miller. I love this guy. His usage is almost 40% over his last 5 games. So over 36 his last 20. I think Miller's in play. Does Florida State's length and size scare you? is Miller matchup proof. I mean, 3 of his last 5 games, he's had over 50 DK points. So I got to put Miller in my cash pool definitely at 9K. I think he's just as well as anybody else up there. Is he gonna be a main lineup? I'm not sure yet, but he's up there. I know FSU is good, but I think Miller is matchup proof. This kid's good. Yeah, if he can make a couple free throws, he'd be much better. So Miller, I just got Barnes on GPP and Miller possibly cash.
All right. Next game, and before we move into this next game, I just want to mention, shout out to Oral Roberts. We got Oral Roberts a big time upset over Ohio State. We mentioned that Stack had done well. The reason I'm bringing him up is we're talking about another potential upset here with Eastern Washington. But Oral Roberts is a good case of our edge kind of showing through. A lot of talking heads thought Ohio State was hot coming in. They really weren't. If you look at their Big Ten tournament games, they blew a couple of leads and came out on top. It was really the championship game where they did look their best. But they limped into that, and Oral Roberts was a hot team. We thought they could, score well. Kevin Obenar is a beast down low. He's had good rates against big teams, and they came through for us. So potential upset here. Not as confident as I am or as I was at Oral Roberts, but Eastern Washington playing a shorthanded Kansas Jayhawks. I'll watch my tongue a bit because I know we have several Kansas Jayhawk fans in the chat. Ken Palm has a 78-67 in favor of Kansas. Eastern Washington 28 Temple ranking, Kansas 186. This is a spot though where maybe you can touch the money line, or not the money line, the spread. It's plus 10.5 for Eastern Washington, and I do think that they can cover here. McCormick was out in the Big 10 or Big 12 tourney. He's going to play. He practiced yesterday, so he is back. They are, of course, without Jalen Wilson until at least the second round if they make it due to COVID protocol. That's not something you can overlook. Jalen Wilson is a big-time producer on this team, talented freshman, big-time usage rate, produces, blocks, steals, rebounds, assists, pretty much every category. So replacing that's not going to be easy. Christian Brown is a three-point shooter. Agbaji's a dunker. Garrett's a really good defender. So they have the pieces, but I don't think there's any one guy that's going to just slide in and become Jalen Wilson. So that does make them susceptible in my mind. And if McCormick only 1 day of practice in the last 2 weeks, that might not be good enough either. So there is a chance here for EW at least to cover. Starts with Kim Aiken. He's a monster stat sheet stuffer. This is one of your low major underpriced players at 6'2". He hasn't been under 28 fantasy points since early February. That's a stretch that includes a 54 and a 41 fantasy point performance. So big time upside here. Usage and shot rates are under 20%. So people might be confused, like, how does he do it without, big usage rate? Well, his peripheral stats are really solid. He has a 7.4% offensive rebounding rate, a combined rate of 32%, almost a 4% block rate. And he's just a monster on the glass. He's a big body. Kansas sometimes, goes slow and they have the advantage down low. EW has a couple big bodies with Aiken and Tanner Groves, who is, a lot of people look at him and say he's just stiff, but he's a big time rebounder as well. If he can stay out of foul trouble, I think he could probably neutralize McCormick, and Aiken will be free to just kind of, pop 10, 11, 12 rebounds. So don't sleep on Kim Aiken today. I think he's a very good play. And then Jacob Davison, a curious case of Jacob Davison. I did a little bit of extra research yesterday to find out why the preseason Big Sky Player of the Year is barely playing now. Because he's only 3'4", and if this was the Jacob Davison from last season or earlier in the season, that would be like everybody would have him 90% ownership. So he had a severe bout of non-COVID flu, missed some games here or there. And then the team went on a winning streak when they decided to bench him. Like at the beginning of the season, they had a couple bad losses. He still scored like 30 real points in these losses. So he's scoring and doing things, but the team just wasn't winning games. They moved him to the bench. They started winning. They went on a big time winning streak. And for the team, he decided to continue coming off the bench, and they will keep winning games because he'd prefer to win than get his stats. So commendable to the kid there. But I mean, they're going to need to score here. This would be a very good spot to target him, I think. This kid, I mean, he's ranked 10th in school history in scoring. He's not a scrub. It's just a matter of they have been not using him because they've been winning games, and the team gels a little bit differently. But I think if it ends up being close and they need a bucket, they gotta play him. He's like a kid that can score almost at will when it comes down to it. So he's not in the doghouse or anything like this. It's a mutual agreement. And I saw some people talking about he was being in the doghouse. That's not the case. So I'm really intrigued by this play. He's got a usage rate over 25%, a shot rate over 28%. So very sneaky option. Maybe I won't pull the trigger in my main lineup. I know yesterday a lot of people got, Howard and Georgia Tech. He was like 30% owned. He didn't even start. That's just shocking to me that he was so high. People just kind of blindly follow projections. I stayed away from that play, but I could see going to a player like Davison at 3-4 because he's a much better proven player than somebody like a backup big from Georgia Tech was, like Howard. So Davison at 3-4. Do not be surprised if he ends up playing over 20 minutes and putting up a really solid score. And then Tanner Groves, I mentioned him earlier at 7-3. He's a little high, but 28% shot rate, 27% usage rate, defensive rebounding rate of almost 27%, draws 5.5 fouls per 40. If he can get McCormick in foul trouble, and there's a very good chance he can, nobody will be able to check him and Gakin off the glass, and that would be the best way for them to try to win this game over Kansas. So that is the EW rundown. I'm probably not using any Kansas guys. They're so inconsistent, and they're priced up. Really, Christian Brown at 5.5 is probably the guy, but we've seen Brown put up 16 before in good matchups. So I don't have any trust in this Kansas team. One practice under their belt, not a full squad. I mean, maybe this is the Winthrop spot where we all thought Winthrop was going to win, and now I think EW is going to win, and they won't. But this just screams upset to me. So, what do you think, man?
Yep. And you look back a couple weeks, was it 2 weeks ago against Idaho State? Davison had a pretty good game. He threw up 11 shots, 6 for 11. So, yeah, he can get it done. And I was one of those idiots that fell for the Georgia Tech play. I said, mainly if it's a price. I mean, I was just hoping to get 10 DK points out of the guy. But Kansas, I have no use for in DFS today. Especially, I'm seeing high projections on McCormick. I mean, and they were pretty much preparing for him without McCormick or him being, limited. So he hasn't been getting any kind of a workload. So I'm off McCormick. This Eastern Washington team, you're right. This could be an upset. And if you look back, they played Arizona, and they almost beat Arizona back in around, I think it was Christmas time. And Arizona is kind of built like this Kansas team also. So, they got the length. They're very athletic like Kansas. They got a bunch of, top 100 recruits. So I could see somebody like Aiken, because I think Groves is going to be busy with McCormick, which is going to leave Aiken open. So I see a big game from Aiken. I'm not, if anybody be like Baji from Kansas, but I could see Aiken being a main lineup type player. So I'm all over Kim Aiken. And that's pretty much it from this game. So I think Groves and McCormick can beat the shit out of each other. Braun's a GPP play for me, boom or bust. I've been burned by him way too many times. Like Baji's steady, but I just feels a little bit cheaper. And that's it. I think Kim Aiken's a great play, though, at 6'2". He should be 7'5".
Definitely. All right. Next game is St. Bonnie's versus LSU. This is the DFS gold stack of the day. This would be the Oral Roberts Ohio State game in terms of fantasy, maybe Arkansas and Colgate. There's going to be a lot of points here. Ken Palm has it 74-73 in favor of St. Bonnie's. They're 319 Temple ranking, LSU 78. I don't have a preference to who wins this game. I really like both teams for fantasy purposes. Obviously, I'm a Cam Thomas guy. I think if I had to pick somebody, I would lean the St. Bonnie's, because I think the winner of this game will beat, assuming Michigan gets through today, I think the winner of this game will be Sweet 16 bound. Very, very strongly thinking that. So if you have a chance to bet that, or if that's something at your book, take one of these teams to Sweet 16. When they face Michigan in the next round, they'll probably be underdogs. We'll be able to get a solid, underdog bet there. Starts for me, and I know the industry is going to be looking at the cheaper guys, but I'm looking at the more expensive guys for St. Bonnie's. Osun Oshini at 8-1. He's been a impeccable, unstoppable force. Every time he's on the slate, I use him. He's lower owned, and he rarely lets me down. 4 straight games scoring 30+ fantasy points, includes 2 games over 48 during that stretch. 8.8% offensive rebounding rate, a 31% combined rate. Block rate's 10.1%, which is 21st best in the country. And really, one of the nice things about the Bonnies, as we know by now, or you guys should, is that they run their starters into the ground. They only run 7 deep. Their 2 subs kind of come in and play sparingly. If somebody gets in a foul trouble, or somebody needs a quick blow, they will come in. But still, you're looking at 5 guys who are going to play 35+ minutes, assuming no foul trouble or injury. So 8-1 is a fair price for him. He should be higher. And LSU has been getting beat up down low, despite having Trenton Watford and down there, and LeBlanc, who's a decent shot blocker. They get punished frequently in the painted area. So I could see Oshuni having a big game, and then Smart and Thomas and some of these other guys who like to drive, they're going to be running down there, and he's going to be blocking shots. This is a guy who could very easily have 5, 6, 7 blocks today, similar to Colin Castleton yesterday and a couple other guys that had big games. So don't sleep on him. He's kind of tentatively have him in my core right now, because I think you obviously want exposure to this game. You're going to have to play somebody like a Lofton Oshuni or Holmes, who's been bad, or Cam Thomas. So you're going to want exposure here, and Osun is where I'm leaning. Also really like Kyle Lofton. I made the mistake of taking him out last second in that game against VCU because he had struggled against them, that history, and he ended up putting up 40 plus. So I don't want to make that mistake again. At 7.5, he really feels too cheap. He is playing 95.9% of the Bonnie's minutes, which is the highest percentage in the nation. So he plays the most minutes out of everyone in the country from a percentage standpoint. So you know you're going to get 40 minutes out of this guy at 7.5. That's a huge, huge discount. 29.9% usage rate, 27.5% assist rate. He's going to score. It's a good, he gets to the free throw line enough times where he's going to generate points there. I expect this to be close. He's going to be diming a lot of the shots. Attaway and Welch and Holmes, to hit their threes. They'll all be dimed by Lofton. So I think you need to consider him too. If you can fit both Osun and Lofton, that'll be unique, but very high powered. The plays that I consider more GPP are what other sites are calling cash locks. I don't know if we can consider Jaron Holmes as a cash lock anymore. 6.4 is a nice price, but he's pretty much high variance as they come. I had him in some of my season longs, and yeah, the 50s are great when they come, but you're dealing with 18s when they come because he bricks a ton of shots. The volume is there, but a lot of times he goes ice cold and he can't hit a single shot. It becomes very frustrating. He also has a bit of a foul tendency because of how aggressive he is. He's had 2 first half fouls, sometimes 3, way more often than I'd like to admit. He's legit a 50-point scorer, but he could also, like I said, put up a 10 to 12. So he's got a 25.5% shot rate. The shot's going to go up. He's got a 40% from long range on 94 attempts. So he is a good shooter overall. He's just gone cold in the last couple of games, which was scary for me. So I do feel like he's more of a GPP play. I know the price is nice, but it's only 1,100 more for Lofton, who's safer. And 1,100 is really not that much in the grand scheme of things. And then Dominic Welch and Jalen Attaway. Good luck trying to, I don't know what that noise was. Good luck trying to pick between those two. Pretty much everyone in the Bonnie starting lineup is going to play a lot, but Welch and Attaway kind of take turns. Welch is a big time 3-point shooter, 41% on 120 attempts. Attaway, 78th best offensive rating in the country, 8% offensive rebounding rate. So he's going to give you more on the other side of things, through rebounds, blocks, steals, assists, that kind of thing. I'm fine with either. Anyone in the starting 5 of St. Bonnie's today, if you show me a lineup and ask me about it and they have one of those guys in it, I'm a fan. And then as far as LSU goes, Cam Thomas, anytime he's under 8K, he's in play. I do have concerns here for LSU. St. Bonnie's defense is quite good. They're top 20 in efficiency. So, Thomas is going to get his. It's going to take 25 plus shots if necessary. So he has that usage rate over 29%, shot rate over 32%. One thing he does fantastically is he draws 6.5 fouls per 40. He gets a ton of free throws every single game. There's been games where he shot like 8 for 30, but he still scored 30 points because he took 15 free throw shots, and he's going to hit damn near every single one of them. So if he can get any of these guys in foul trouble and get himself to the line, Cam Thomas will have a big game. I see him more as a fringe cash play today, though. And then guys like Watford, Smart, Days, we know they're going to play a lot. They're kind of like, St. Bonnie's, and that their starters are going to be running to the ground. Their bench won't give them much, but they're all priced either appropriately or too high. I mean, I just don't see how I could pay 9K for Watford going up against Osun, which I just think Osun's a much more physical player than Watford will like. He's not going to be getting much rebounds. His rebounding rates aren't that good anyway, so I would just stay away from him and take the discount on Osun. So if you take nothing else away from this game, stack it up and enjoy. What do you think?
Cam Thomas for LSU should be your main lineup, and anytime since he's under 8K. For the last 2 months, he's been between 25 and 40 DK points. So that screams cash game play for me. He's going to get his points. They said it's going to be a close game, I think. High pace. So to me, just lock him in. And I mean, Days is a good spot, I think, also. But I'm over Thomas. Now on the other side, to me, this is going to pretty much decide if you're going to cash or not, which one of these Bonnie guys you plays. I think that if the Bonnies keep this game in the 60s, and I love Oshuni, and I also love Attaway. So I think if they go through Oshuni, Attaway, keep in the 60s, we're going to get a lot of pop from St. Bonaventure. Oshuni is just, to me, he's the main lineup type guy. He's awesome. This is offense. He's a walking double-double, this dude. He averages almost 11 points a game, almost 9 rebounds a game. And to me, if Oshuni's a clock, if Attaway gets involved, now he scored in the A10, he scored 12.17 and 10 points. He was big in the victory over St. Louis. bunch of long range shots or in that BCU game. So he's had double figures in every game except for one since early February. So I'm an Attaway guy today. Attaway, Ashuni, and Cam Thomas. Can you get all three in your lineup? I don't know. But I think you need two of them. And that's my problem. It may come down to a Cam Thomas or a Shuni. Can you get both of them in your lineup though? I want both of them. I like Lofton, but I'll just take the discount on Attaways and get almost 40 minutes. Can you play a Shuni and Thomas together? Because we saw what Shuni did last game. And this Shuni's incredible. He's probably the best passing big man in Atlantic 10, I would say. And just when he gets the ball up low, I don't think LSU has that traditional center that can stop him. And he should be able to exploit that today. So I think Ashuni's could be one of the play of the day today.
100%. He snuck his way into the cover boy. That cover boy modifier has been big all season. So
he did. I didn't even realize it.
Yeah, I got him as the I debated it for a while, but I was like, you know what?
I see it now.
I always go with these lower owned guys for the cover boy, so that when they do well, everybody can look to us. And if they do bad, then fine. That cover boy modifier has been huge. I'm superstitious this season, so which is different than no other season, I guess. Next game, Texas Southern versus Michigan. We have a 16 seed here. Texas Southern, small prices. Hartford alert. Ken Palm has an 85-16 favor of Michigan, 260 at Temple ranking. Texas Southern 47th. We were both super highest, 2 nights when we were on 2 nights ago for Hartford. I wanted you to talk me out of it. You wanted me to talk you out of it. We couldn't do it, but we were both too scared to run both. That's why in that afternoon lineup, I did run Carter and Williams, and they both smoked. And they got walloped, but there's still plenty to go around for these guys because somebody's going to score points. It's not like they're going to score 10 points, right? So sometimes we get into these where they're going to get blown out, so we can't use them. They're going to lose. Well, it's not like they're not going to score statistics, right? So sometimes I think we get a little too wrapped up in blowouts and worry too much. When a guy like Marcus Weathers is priced at 5.6 when he was almost, was he over 8K last slate?
Hey, he just dropped like 3K, didn't he, in 2 days?
Yeah, just because he's facing Michigan, who does have a good defense, yes. But if Michigan ends this game by halftime and is up, 25-30, they're going to play their bench. And you don't think that Marcus Weathers, who has played for Oklahoma State, Miami, Ohio, and seen upper tier competition, won't smack the hell out of a Big Ten bench? I mean, he's at least better than their bench. Give me a break. So 5.6, he's probably going to be popular. This is where we don't want to get stared off because they're a 16 seed. It worked yesterday. It's worked in the past. We've these low to mid majors. This is our edge. I'm very confident that we, as a group, know more about these schools than most of the general public do. And I think Marcus Weathers is a very solid, price, obviously, and a good play. He's top shot rate on the team, 25.6%, usage rate over 26%, assist rate of 23.5%, block rate 3.6, and a steals rate of 3.7. So these rates are an 8K player. So he's drawing over 5,000 per 40. He got in some early foul trouble in that last game against the Mount, which kind of, caused him to lose some minutes. That's not typical of him. I don't think you'll see that this time. And since he is able to draw so many fouls, he should be able to get some free throws and kind of beef up our score here. These Michigan guards are going to be playing the passing lanes really aggressive. So I think that he can draw some fouls and, draw some reaches, whatever, and get those guys into foul trouble and kind of back them off a little bit. The other play, and Weathers will be popular. The other play you can really consider from Texas Southern is Jordan Carl Nicholas. He was also over 7K last slate. He had a relatively bad game, but most of the season he's been good. So again, an 8K to a 4.4 drop here is even bigger, which is eye-opening for me. I mean, that's a great price. Usage rate over 23%, shot rate over 24%, offensive rebounding rates over 11%, combined 30%. His block rate's 5.2, and he's drawing over 4.5 fouls per 40. So even against a tough defense like Michigan typically is, that's just way too underpriced. Even if he ends up busting, that would still probably be the right play. And we don't even have to plan because as we get through here, you're going to see some other solid, cheap guys, Abilene Christian, Iona. There's a bunch of cheaper underdogs that have many value plays. But Jordan Carl Nicholas, if he's going to go under-owned, I almost want to play him in main. If I don't, then you better get him in your alt because that's just a ridiculously cheap price. That's priced down there at mid-major bench or not high major bench players. And he's a star. He's a pretty big star for this team. So I don't get that price. I think you need to get exposure. And then we did see Mezzi Offren, the GW, transfer. Even though they lost, he was just damaging this Texas Southern front court over and over and over again. So this could be a Hunter Dickinson game. 7-3. He'll probably go overlooked because there's so many other options here, but he's going to do some damage. Even if he only plays like 27, 28 minutes, which is typically the problem with him not getting over 30, he'll do enough to rough them up. 26.6% usage rate, 26% shot rate, combined rebounding rate over 34%, and block rate over 5%. So don't be surprised to see Dickinson, put together a quiet 40 because people aren't looking to him. But yeah, I just see a really big game from him. This Texas Southern front court is not prepared to try and stop Hunter Dickinson. And then for leverage, Franz Wagner, maybe not even for leverage. I don't even know if you can use him in GPPs because his ceiling doesn't seem to be that high, but you can pay the 8-6 for him over McKinley Wright. You're going to get 35 from him. The question is, how many minutes will Michigan get if it turns into a blowout? They'll try to save guys because that second round matchup looming with St. Bonnie's or LSU is probably one of the tougher matchups they'll see all season. So this price tag, I think, he could hit 40 plus, but he's definitely a safe 4X. Shot rate's over 21%, defensive rebounding rate heading for 19%, steals rate in the almost 3%, block rate almost 4%. He's actually improved from 3-point range over the season, hitting 38% of his 86 attempts. So I could see using Franz today. I probably won't, but he's a very safe 4X even at 8-6. And then Justin Hopkins, John Walker, Jordan Gilliam. If you want to rotate in some Texas Southern guys and try to, hit some leverage at a 0.5% on play, perhaps one of those guys works out. Hopkins and Gilliam have hovered around 16 to 20 fantasy points all season long. So you could do worse at those price tags. But when you've got Jordan Nicholas at 4-4, I think it's probably, if you're going to use somebody from this team that's not Weathers, it's him. So what do you think, man? We don't want to get scared off of a 16 seed. It didn't, it was fine yesterday. Will it be fine today?
Yeah, and Weathers didn't have a good game the other day, so it's going to keep people off him. He was 3-for-11. Made both his 3-pointers, though, I think. But and Nicholas, who's the team's third leading scorer, really didn't have that great of a game either. He had 4 points, 2 for 7 shooting. Both of them had, kind of poor shooting days, which kind of gave it all to Walker. But yeah, I would go right back to with Nicholas. And he actually came down with a key rebound with I think 2 or 3 minutes left in the game. So Weathers, definitely, he's almost, you got a guy close to 30% usage on the team at 5'6", drop 3K. Weathers is the main lineup type play. Nicholas is a main lineup type play. And the only one I'm looking at from Michigan is Wagner. Because Texas Southern actually defends the 3 pretty well. So I could see Michigan just going to pump the middle and get it to Wagner. I could see Wagner having a pretty huge, Dickinson having a good day. Just because of that. And it matters if it's gonna be a blowout, how much is he gonna play? That's what would probably keep him off my main. But he's got 30% usage too. And over the last 5 games, Dickinson. So I'm way over Dickinson over Wagner. I think Dickinson's the play, but I'm not sure if I'm gonna play it because of the blowout factor. But definitely Weathers. So I got Weathers 1, Nicholas 2, Dickinson 3.
All right, next game, and this is the one I've been waiting for. You guys have heard me talk about this team for 2 weeks now, probably getting tired of it. UCSB Gauchos versus the Creighton Blue Jays. Ken Palm has a 74-68 in favor of Creighton. Last look, the Gauchos were plus 7.5. I think you bet that point line all day long. If you're doing parlays, get them in there. If you're betting straight, just do that. That's the one I feel very, very positive about. They're 295 tempo ranking, Creighton 143rd. Creighton is, they're good. People really overrate Creighton, in my opinion. And I know there's some Big East fans that are going to kill me, but I just think they're susceptible to getting beat here. Zagorowski has had a good season, not the caliber of season I think we all expected. His price is really high. I could see him getting frustrated and taken out here. The Gauchos defense is very aggro. They're capable of causing turnovers and getting this team frustrated. And if they come out hitting threes and hot early, I think it could take this win right out of the sails of Creighton early and lead to a wall-to-wall, leading upset. So, man, I really like this Gauchos team, probably to a fault. They do get their 6-man Ajarzani back today. He suffered a pretty serious injury, a Justin Moore level injury in the Big West Championship game, but it's reported he's going to play. So, Moore came back sooner. This guy comes back sooner, and they're just shooting these kids up, whatever. But he's back, so that's going to help them a great deal. Because that's just another weapon off the bench. I love the way this Gauchos team is put together. My favorite player is Ja'Cory McLaughlin, the reigning Big West Player of the Year. He's from the Tacoma area, which is south of Seattle. Another team the Huskies didn't keep in state. He did start out at Oregon State in his freshman season, didn't work out there, so he transferred over to the Gauchos, and he's been a big time producer. 7.6K, he projects just around 4X, so that should keep most people off him. I think he's going to have a big game. Like I said, you guys are getting tired of hearing me harp about him, but it's just, I love the way he plays. He's averaging 16.5 points per game, over 31 fantasy points per game, top 100 offensive rating, 81% of the minutes at guard, so he's going to play most of the game. Usage rates over 25%, shot rates 25%. His assist rates top 43 in the country at 32.5%. His steals rates pushing 3%, so he will, defend. He's drawing almost 5 fouls per 40. He's a 39% shooter from long range on 94 attempts. He's a star, man. And if they're going to pull the upset, he will be the catalyst. He will be the max ace-miss of the day if they pull off the upset. You can also look at Miles Norris, the Oregon transfer. That's why I mentioned I like the way this team went out. Gauchos probably aren't going to recruit, top 100 guys, but they can go out to mid or high majors and find a guy that wasn't getting playing time and make him into a star. And Miles Norris fits that bill at 5'3". He's a sneaky play. His logs aren't super impressive. He's had a bit of an up and down season, but during the Big West tournament, he really showed out. And when Sandy went down, Norris, he stepped up big time. He does have a solid 17% defensive rebounding rate, 3.6% block rate. The big man can also step out. He hits 38% of his threes, so he's very versatile. There's going to be a very, it's going to be tough. If Sal is on the bench, I'll talk about in a second, it's going to be hard pressed for a guy like Kalkbrenner or even Bishop to try to guard Miles Norris, because he's going to pull him out in 3-point line, open that lane up for McLaughlin. And there's going to be some very good stuff happening. If they drop down to double, then he's going to be open on the perimeter. So I just see the Gauchos being able to run an offense that's going to give this Creighton, the way their lineup's made up, trouble. Amadou Sal at 7'2" is your GPP special. Very physical big man. He's had 4 straight games over 30 fantasy points. Usage rate over 25%. Usage rate of 25%. His combined rebounding rate's almost 40%. He's drawing over 5 fouls per 40. If Christian Bishop gets handsy like he sometimes does, he can get him into foul trouble very easy. Big men are actually been having their way with the Jays the last month or so. And this Creighton, it took me a while to get Creighton out of my mind as a juggernaut of a defense, because they started out that way. But they're definitely beatable and give up fantasy points. So Sal has the ability to put up a monster score here. I'm less comfortable with him than I am McLaughlin in my main lineup, but I do love Sal as a 5% play, maybe having a Joni Broom type game. He was low on last night, and Broom did as well. You can also look at DeViro Ramsey, helps run point. He's a Nevada transfer, has almost 20% assist rate, 3.5% steal rate. There's other value that's better, but if you're looking for a game stack or an overtime or a game that's going to go, down to the wire and you want multiple pieces, Ramsey's a bit of a sneakier play at sub 5K as well. So I love the Gauchos. Plus 7.5 is the pick for those of you who have been tailing on some of these underdogs. Pete, what are you doing with this one?
You obviously know a lot more about Santa Barbara than I do, so I think McLaughlin's a great play. McLaughlin, especially his price. So all I'm going to do is just agree with you. I think McLaughlin is the play. I think they're kind of like an inside-outside combo, right? McLaughlin and Sal.
Yep.
But I would take the reduction in McLaughlin. I don't think Creighton's that great either. I think Creighton's definitely great to be beat. I love Zagorowski. I've always liked him, but he's not in play at this price. There's probably maybe Damian Jefferson would probably be the only one I would even lean to on Creighton. So no, you did a good synopsis on them. I mean, I've seen not on him as much as you are, but I could see McLaughlin, if anybody, being a main type player at 7'6". He's not going to catch ownership either, obviously. So I will defer to you on that one.
I officially dubbed Ja'Cory McLaughlin the Posh Alexander play of the day. It has been written and decided. So you guys know what to do with that information. Iona versus Alabama. Ken Palm has an 81-62 in favor of Bama. They're 9th in tempo ranking. Iona 185. Rick Pitino back in the tournament, Pete. Yep. He's going to have this Iona team. He's going to get some job offers from some of these other schools that are firing their coaches, but I think he's going to stay at Iona. It came out that, he would love to turn them in. Obviously, any small major team would love to turn into Gonzaga. The East Coast Gonzaga. That would take a lot of work to get there. Yep. But this Iona team, they've got, good history, and it's a team when they're good, they're a fun team. And he's got the pieces here, and I think he'll start recruiting. He'll get some transfers. And this is another thing where DK has dropped the prices on all the main pieces for the Gales. Now, Alabama hasn't been as targetable lately. We saw their defense completely locked down in Mississippi State in the SEC tourney. They have caused us to make good money and then lately kind of lose money if we target against them. So I am not as comfortable stacking up Iona as other people seem to be. A lot of people I've talked to last night, this morning, are, these prices on Iona are too cheap. We got to roll them. We got to roll them. And I definitely want exposure, but I don't know if I want to stack against Alabama. I mean, Alabama should win this one probably pretty handily because there's a talent discrepancy. If Iona gets hot, sure, but that Alabama defense, this is a good way for them to make a statement early to the rest of the tournament because people are doubting them and lock down Iona. So I am scared to use them. I typically don't get scared to use low major, mid major teams, but I am a little bit, here. Nelly Jr. Joseph, fantastic play at 5.2. Combined rebounding rate of 32%, 6.7% block rate, draws almost 5 fouls per 40. The Bama defense pretty stout lately, like I said, but they do get beat down low. So Junior Joseph could wreck them. He's a bit risky for a cash play. I do have him listed as cash, but I wrote in there that he's a little risky because he is a handsy guy and can get into foul trouble as well. The risk is mitigated with his price. But the Bama bigs, it's not like Alex Reese is, he prefer to be on the 3-point line. Juwan Gary's been playing more lately. He does prefer to be down low, but it's not like the Bama front court is locked down. It's much more the perimeter D of Alabama that has done better. But with that being said, I don't mind targeting guys like Asante Gist at 5'1". Gist has been on the team for a little bit. I think there was a slate at one time, maybe last year, the year before, where he was like 7K, I believe. Best scorer on the team. So 5'1's a pretty good price for him. 25.5% usage rate, 25% shot rate, 25% assist rate, and he's drawing 6 fouls per 40. Keynote here, he's 89% free throw shooter. So if they can keep it close and they get Gist at the line repeatedly, he'll make his free throws. He scored 25 plus fantasy points in 3 straight games. So I actually do think Gist could wind up being semi-popular here because people are looking at Iona so much. And that may have to do with, their coach as well. Couple guys popping in optos that I'm a little less excited about. Barrick Jean Louis at 4.9. I would rather just go to Gist for 200 more. Jean Louis has a 4% block rate, 4.2% steal rate. He is making 39% of his triples, and he scored 20 plus fantasy points in 4 of his last 5. So all the Iona starters are pretty viable today. You could even look at Isaiah Ross at 5'6". I'd rather take the discount on Gist. Ross plays 86% of the minutes. He has a usage rate of 25%, a shot rate of 28.7%. So shot rate's a little higher than Gist, but Gist has a better, assist rate, rebound rate, everything else. And then the Hail Mary is Dylan Van Eyck, 4'4", 30% combined rebounding rate. If you believe, as I do, that the Alabama front court is susceptible, then Van Eyck can definitely do some damage, but his minutes hover around the mid-20s. So nobody on the bench for Iona is in play, even if they end up going off today. It's mainly the 5 starters that you want to keep in mind. I will let you talk about Alabama because you've been the Herb Jones guy. You've also been the John Petty guy. So you take the wins with Herb Jones, but you also take the L's with John Petty. So are you going back to your boy, either of your boys today?
I feel like I've been playing Petty all year, and I've won money off him, and I've lost money off him. So yeah, I'm probably going back to him at 6'1". It seems like every Saturday we deal with this Petty nonsense, and it seems like usually he lets us down more than he doesn't. But I just feel like it's like a tournament's a different season now for him. Yes, has he struggled? Yeah. But I probably lost more money than I've made money off him. But I feel like I have a relationship with the guy now, and I just can't walk away from him yet. So, as I think he projects well, I don't think Primo's out, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So if Primo was playing, I'd probably be a little bit more lukewarm. But with Primo out, I think that helps Petty. Also pumps up Keon Ellis a little bit, who I've actually had a lot of success with lately. Is Keon Ellis. So Herb Jones is probably the play here, but at 8-9, and do we have a blowout factor? So if it becomes a blowout, Jones is going to sit. We know that. I think Petty's probably going to stay in longer. So yeah, I'm playing Petty. I still think Herb Jones is a cash play. I'd probably run with somebody like Shoney over him at the end of the day. But Petty's going to be in my main lineup. And on the other side, I like to just play also. I mean, Alabama's got such great defense at defense efficiency, but it's a high tempo. Somebody's got to score from there. So, and like you said the perfect point where you got a guy like Asante just who's been here before. He's been in the tournament. I'd rather spend $200 more than pay for like a Barack Jean Lewis. So, Nelly Jr. Joseph though he's a double guy. He can get double for you. I'm not sure about today when he's going against Herb and stuff, but at 5.2. So I'd rank him today. I'm going with Petty 1, Gist 2, and then rest these other scrubs, which I think are playable, like a Joseph for something. But I'm in on Petty today. I can't walk away from him now in the tournament. A 6-1.
You're pot committed. And I'll say that the guys who have been using him all season long getting burned, it's kind of like the Tate play. It finally paid off for those that continue to roll out Tate yesterday from Arkansas, and so you feel good about it. He lost you all that money, but he made you that money back yesterday if you played it right. So Petty could be that option. I only used Petty once this whole year when he was under 6K, and it worked out for me. But I just fail to see him hitting 30 plus right now. He's just not showing it. So those of us who have faded can continue, but if you've been using him, I would highly recommend you continue. Yes, so you're smart for that. Herb Jones almost 9K is probably too tough to pay, but every time I say that, even if he only plays 25 minutes, he's still putting up 50 in under 30 minutes. He's just a complete psycho. So when Alabama gets into a close game and he plays like 37 minutes, he may very well put up 70. That's an actual real possibility. So keep that in mind for later on.
I played him every slate. I think he's on his entire season. I think maybe one, but this may be the first time I don't. There's too many other guys in that price range, but he's definitely in play. You're right. He can do it in half a game.
Yeah, he definitely can. He's healthy now. He's got his fouls under control. So, all right, next game, Drake versus USC. Drake won a hard-fought battle in the play-in round against Wichita State in a fairly ugly game. But Yesufu was nice. Ken Palm has a 72-67 in favor of USC, 236 tempo ranking. Drake 270th. Yesufu's too cheap again. He'll probably go under owned because there are so many other options, but he should be probably 8K. So 6.5 Yesufu, he's been rolling, man. Since Roman, even before Roman Penn went down, he was rolling. But now that Penn went down and he's playing the whole game, he's just crushing. And he will Drake to that victory over Wichita State. If they didn't have him, they would have lost certainly. He had a 33, FPS outing last time, 21 points. Usage rate over 25%, shot rate over 28%. He's making 37% of his threes on 107 attempts. So yeah, Yesufu is definitely in play. The only problem is that, I know everybody clowns on the Pac-12. Shout out to Oregon State. USC is a good defense, and I think if anyone in the Pac-12 would make a deep run, it would be the Trojans, just because their defense and obviously they're anchored by the Mobley brothers. So I'm a little less wanting to use Yesufu here in my main lineup, but I wouldn't hate it because that price is too cheap. And then I guess Garrett Sturt's 5K. He played over 37 minutes in 6 straight, but he's kind of a lower end option. On the USC side, Mobley's 9.5. We saw, and that's a tough price, man, because he's kind of ended the year a little more, pedestrian. But I think that, if the Trojans are smart, then they're going to get back to feeding him, because if they want to go far in this tournament, they're going to have to ride their horse. And we just saw Morris Udeze for Wichita State. He didn't have a ton of rebounds, only 4, but he scored 22 points, and 18 of those were in the paint against this Drake team. So, Udeze's good, but he's not having Mobley down there. So we could see Mobley score, 30 real points if the Trojans continue to feed him down low over and over and over again. I could see a guy like, Darnell Brody getting into foul trouble, Tremor Murphy, all these guys, taking their shots on Mobley and him just, mowing them all down. He does have a solid rates across the board, 24% usage rate, 9.3% offensive rebounding rate, combined rate of 30%, block rate over 9%. He draws over 5 fouls per 40. So he is a marquee pay up. He's a luxury as opposed to a need, because if he doesn't go over like 42, you're probably in trouble. But I definitely like him. I think he's a very safe source, much like McKinley Wright. The price is high for me, but the floor, you're going to get is over 30. If you want to go cheap, Isaiah Mobley, his older brother, theoretically should do well. I know he's been in shadow, in Evan's shadow this season, but if you remember last year, he was a big time fantasy producer. And this year he's posted a respectable 9 points per game, 7.5 rebounds per game. If he put up that stat line with a couple assists, a block, and a steal, he's paying off the 5 too. So it wouldn't take much over his season average to really pay off this price. Usage rate's over 20%. It's got a combined rate of 28% on the glass. 12% of that is offensive rebounding, and he's drawing 4.5 fouls per 40. So I do like Isaiah here as a cheaper option to Evan that, you might get a sub 10% ownership and should sail over 20 fantasy points. And then you got Taj 85.9, 20 plus in 4 straight games. I haven't been much of an Edey guy this season. He makes me really uncomfortable. It's hard to deny how good he is on offense, but I would just hate to pay 5.9 for him today and get a 17. There's no upside there for him today. Same with Drew Peterson. So is Yesufu or the Mobleys if you're going to attack this game. This one could end up being ugly, though. We know how Drake plays. We've seen them a couple times. USC's perfectly fine with it being a slugfest because they have the horses to win a game like that. So this one might be better off left on the sidelines. There will be a lot of rebounds, though. What do you think?
Dude, did you see that? Did you see that dunk Yusufu had over Clarence Jackson, man? That was crazy the other day.
Yeah, he sent him backwards.
Just that dunk right there to me just showed me ever since Roman Ped went down, his confidence has just gone through the roof. And it's showing how he's averaging in the last 7 games, he's averaging 23.1 points, regular points. And just like, they were down by, I think, like 12 points the other day, and he started banging 3-pointers. So I think that's too cheap for Yusufu, 6'5". He should be 7'5". To me, he's a main lineup play. He's definitely up there because he should be in consideration. Sturch is cheaper, but I probably still roll Yusufu if I'm running anybody from that Drake team. I like Darnell Brody too, but I just feel that they are too weak in the interior, and this is going to be. I can't pay 9.5 for Evan Mobley. If I'm going to pay that much, I might as well go to Garza or somebody. That's just me personally, but I definitely can drop down $4,000, 4,300, and for his brother. But I think this is a perfect, like a nice cash type game for his brother. I think he's definitely cash main lineup type play. I think Isaiah he's been doing well, so it's not like he's been bombing either. I mean, he's been putting up over 20 DK beside the UCLA game, and he's only 5K, so he should be able to hit 4X. So for me personally, I'd rank him Yusufu, Isaiah, and then Evan. But I'm not any of these other guys either. Eddie's got a pretty decent log though. I didn't realize his log was as good as it's been, but I know damn well if I play him, we're gonna get like an 11 out of him. So I like Yusufu though. I think he's just gonna keep right on rolling here, and I think they're gonna end up at least keeping a game out of this. They're gonna keep it close. I think this might get a little bit ugly basketball, but
yeah,
that's what I got.
All right, next game, Grand Canyon versus Iowa. Grand Canyon, they had Thunder Dan as their coach, and they did well, but they wanted more. Grand Canyon's putting a lot of money into their basketball program, so they went out and they got big shot Bryce Drew to coach. They won their conference tournament. They had a good season, and here they are facing Iowa. Was it plus? Let me check this real quick. This is another one you might want to take the point line on.
14.
Plus 14 okay, so plus 14 and a half, plus 14, depending on the book. Yeah, I think they cover. They're a very good team. They've got some veteran leadership, and they've got some transfers in that are a big part of this team. So this is one that I think Grand Canyon will cover. Maybe not win, but they can cover, 14, 15 points. Ken Palm has a 79-65 in favor of Iowa. They're 100 tempo ranking, Grand Canyon 314. The reason why I think they can cover is their offense, like I said, is good. They've got the pieces, and we know Iowa will not play defense. And Iowa, I could see some of their guys just kind of overlooking this opponent and thinking that it's an easy dub. Their fans act like it is. So I don't know. I like Grand Canyon here to cover. Starts with Asborn Midgard, the Wichita State. Speaking of Wichita State, the transfer there. He's only 5'3". He showed flashes in years past. He just couldn't get the minutes. Too many guys in front of him. He's averaged a double-double this year. So I think he's probably got to be wringing his hands, feeling good about this matchup because he's a physical big man. We've seen guys like that give Garza trouble. Garza would prefer to just take uncontested shots, not get boxed out, get the easy rebounds. We've seen when guys get into him, box him out, elbow him, make things uncomfortable. He gets rattled a little bit. He's a competitor. Garza's I don't want to upset any Garza fans here. He's a great player, top in the country by far. But he's the type of player you can rattle. I want to see him talk shit to him. I want to be physical, maybe pick up a cheap, not a too cheap a foul where he gets hurt or anything, but a foul like that, where maybe he lets him know, elbow to the side or something. That old school basketball. It would be worth picking up a foul, to be honest. Osborne is one of the most efficient shooters in the country, top 3 in both true shooting and effective field goal percentage. He doesn't take any threes. Most of his shots are bunnies, so that's why he's a 70% shooter. But they find him in there. He gets a lot of rebounds. It's 148 field goal attempts. He's shooting 70%. I don't care if they're all bunnies. That's impressive. I think, like I said, he'll mix it up in the paint with Garza. 5'3" is probably too cheap for him. His offensive rebounding rate's over 11%. His defensive rebounding rate's over 25%. Both of those are top 100 in the country. Block rate 5%. He's drawing 5 fouls per 40. If he could draw 2 early fouls on Garza, man, we can all take a big V-lap because Midgard will be able to do some serious criminal damage down low. So I have him as a core play right now. Maybe that's a little bit overzealous, but the price is just too low. I think he probably should be, 6'5", 6'6", somewhere in there. So again, I'm taking the small school underpriced player against the big dog, especially an Iowa team that we've picked on all season long. You could also look at for a few hundred more. I have him as I have these 3 guys as cash plays, but Midgard's really the main team play. Jovan Blackshear at 5'7". He scored 27 plus fantasy points in 5 straight games. Guy's totally nuclear. 23.5% shot rate, an assist rate of almost 30%. Iowa defense been the most fantasy friendly unit in the Big Ten. So I mean, most of these Grand Canyon guys should be able to put up some points. Blackshear especially. I'm a little more concerned for him, as I think that they could make the perimeter a little tougher. So I'm more on Midgard, but I definitely think Blackshear will volume his way to value at that price. And then Alexander Lever's been on the team a few years. He was actually one of the top guys just like 2 years ago. Now he's behind Blackshear and Midgard. 4.7K is a cheap price though. 23.5% shot rate, 22.7% usage rate. Draws 4.5 fouls per 40. He's a 40% 3-point shooter on 71 attempts. So those 3 guys can be used in cash, but Midgard is really the one I'm most confident in. If you ask me for one, it's him. And then you got St. John's transfer, Mikey Dixon, Oscar Freier's been on the team for a long time, Gabe McLaughlin. All those guys are under 4K and can be used in GPPs because they're going to play, 18 to 25, possibly even more minutes. I probably like Dixon the best out of this group, but they're all high risk, high reward options. Don't use them in your main lineup because you might get the Howard game from Georgia Tech, but they're definitely in play. Iowa, Garza's 10K. No, I'm going to pass. I've been fading him all year, so I will continue. I would use Joe Wieskamp at 7.3, but I am much higher on guys like McLaughlin for 300 more, and a couple other options, which we'll talk about, maybe even a book night. So Wieskamp is going to fall in, between the cracks, and he may put up 40 and we'll regret it, but I'm mostly on Grand Canyon here. So what is your take on the Grand Canyon squad and Garza?
Because I'm actually a Grand Canyon student. I'm going there for my master's, and every 10 seconds I get an email from these guys about this team. So this college is pumped, and they pumped a lot of money into this program. And Midgard, I think Midgard's a cash buy. I'm not sure. I might not. I don't know. I may go as far. I know you court him. But I think he'd be in my main lineup, especially at that price. He's a big dude. Yeah. He's a team. I mean, he's. I think he may be number 1 in the nation in field goal percentage. He's pretty close, right? He's like over 70%.
Yeah, he's a 70% shooter.
They're a slow team. They may double team Garza. So as long as he stays in the game, he should be able to obliviate that 5-3 tag. We get 30 DK points out of him, yeah, and then you're gonna look like a freaking wizard if you core him. So I'm with you there. Anybody else? I'm probably not gonna. I mean, Blackshear's good. I kind of like. Oh my God, what's his name? Oscar Freier. He's another one that's been there forever. And, since they started bringing in these transfers recruits, he kind of, doesn't play as much anymore. But I think he still starts every game. And at 3.6 GBP only. But, hey, we get 14, 15 points out of him. He's done what he's supposed to do. So Friars in play also. That's such a cheap price. I'm not playing Garza at 10K, even though, and I usually do. And here, I think I've said it.
And you always say you won't also.
Yeah, but I think this is way too much in a 16-game slate now. And I'm saying that today, but I think this may be the first time I actually may not be lying. So I would tell the truth here. If anything, I probably would go to Wieskamp.
And casuals will be more apt to go play a guy like Garza, right?
Definitely.
So
yep, because
he may end up being 20, 25%. So there's leverage for fading.
It kind of does worry you though too. What if if he has one of his 60-point games? But they seem to be more rare than they were at the beginning of the season anyway. So I'm not as scared of Garza. I mean, he's had the last 3. He's had over 45. But I just can't. There's too many other plays I think that we could go with. Wieskamp's in play though. But if anything, it's coming out of this game is going to be Midgard. I think it's a great play. I'm just hoping he kind of flies under the radar with the casuals that are playing today, and we get a good one here. So Midgard's the play here for me.
Yep, for sure. All right, next game, Maryland versus UConn. Ken Palm has UConn winning 66-64, both in the 300s for tempo. It's not a DFS game. I love James Bouknight. I do have UConn going pretty far in the tournament, actually, because I mean, there's just so many things you can compare to that Kemba Walker run from a few years ago, Baz Napier. It's been a few years now. They're a seven seed. This is about the seed. They're usually out when they make their run. Bouknight's in that mold of Kemba and Baz. So don't be surprised to see them go on a run here. I am probably not using Bouknight at 7-7. I'd love to. That price is too cheap for him. There's just so many other options and better spots. And this one is probably going to be a physical game. They're going to throw more sell on Bouknight, trying to make life difficult for him. And he may defer to the bigs. So Bouknight's in play at 7-7, definitely. Tyrese Martin's in play at 5-9. RJ Cole's been practicing, so expect him. Both those guys are too cheap. It's just not the best. I don't want to say game script because that's kind of more of a football term, but it's shaping up to be a bad game for fantasy points. It's better for the bigs. UConn bigs are certainly in play. Maryland doesn't have a traditional center. Guys like Isaiah Whaley and Adam Sanogo could both have really big games. They won't be owned. I'm not brave enough to use either of them in my main, but it won't shock me to look down and see Sanogo with 32, because they're going to bang on these Maryland guys. They're going to cause fouls. If they do try to bring in Galen Smith or Jarris Hamilton, they're going to be in foul trouble immediately as usual. Maryland just doesn't have the bodies to slow those guys. And I think both of them could block a lot of shots today as well. So they're interesting tourney plays. Sanogo's got a 31% combined rebounding rate, 6.5% block rate. Whaley's got an offensive rebounding rate over 9% and a block rate almost 11%. So both of those guys are in play. And I won't use any Maryland guys today. I do like Ayala a lot. He seems like the type of guy, if they do win, that will make a big run for them. We used him recently at like 3%. He put up a big game, but 7-2, again, there's far too many plays in that 7K range for a second straight day. And I'm not going to burn a spot on Ayala just in case he does bad, because I could see this one ending in a 54, 52, type of score with everybody 2.5 to 3.5x. That's just not going to get it done. So different opinion, or you feel the same?
Yeah, definitely on Maryland. I'm just going back and forth on Bouknight because he is cheap. And this is the type of game. I just saw a stat here which was kind of interesting. They're 11-3 when Bouknight's playing. They're 4-4 when he's out. And we know he struggled. He definitely was himself against Creighton last Friday in New York. He got that DePaul game with cramps when he cramped up. Remember, they're carrying him down the runway. But this is the type of game where, and I actually just saw a quote from Hurley saying that he's the type of guy, when he lets the game come to him, he has a big game. And this is the type of game where Bouknight could quietly have a huge game. Just those cramping and stuff kind of bothers me. But this is the type of game where when he doesn't come into the game, when he dropped 40 on Creighton earlier in the year, like they said, he didn't go, that was the last thing they expected. So I could expect Bouknight to quietly have a big game here at 7-7, and is he one of my top 10 guys? Probably not, but I got a feeling later on today we're going to be bitching saying, damn, we should have played Bouknight, because it is a slow game. It's slow pace, but he's still a very good player. So that's my worry about Bouknight, where I may end up playing him a lot more than other people. I just got that feeling today. So, but that's it I got from this.
Yeah, like I said, I picked UConn to go deep in my bracket, which is trash now anyways, because I went with a lot of upsets because I felt like chalk wouldn't play out. So I do think UConn, and it'll be on the back of Bouknight, definitely. Next game here, we're going to start flying through Ohio versus Virginia. Ken Palm has it 72-64 in favor of UVA, 357 tempo ranking, Ohio 130th. Virginia hasn't, they got booted out of the ACC tourney because of COVID. They haven't really been practicing. They're playing the CBB god, Jason Preston, who has a great story. Didn't have a lot of offers coming out, and he's built himself into a star baller. When I first saw this matchup, I was upset. It was kind of like when I saw Cleveland State draw Houston. I was like, damn, I wanted to use them, but this is a tough spot. But the more I dig into it, and they did a good job pricing him. He won't be a main team play, but Preston's a GPP winning play, even against Virginia. The only problem is the pace will be so slow that he might not get enough possessions to score enough. But he's going to be assisting on every bucket. He's going to bully the Kihei. I know you're a Kihei Clark guy, but the guard play for Virginia is very suspect for this tournament. We know you need guard play to make a run. I think he's going to bully Kihei Clark around. Obviously, they have a revolving door at the 2 guard, and Beekman's not, he's just too raw. So I could see him making some serious noise here. He's got a 20.5% defensive rebounding rate, a 25% shot rate, 38% assist rate, which is top 10 and he's making 40% of his triples on 72 attempts. So he is the real deal. He should be 10K. He is underpriced. It's just it's Virginia. I also like Ben Vanderplas. They're trying to bait me with that Vanderplas price at 6.2. I think I can get away from it, but against the pack line, I mean, numbers say, oh, you know, perimeter on the pack line, but the big men have good games against the pack line D. We saw it, you know, again yesterday with the Oklahoma State playing Liberty. Preston was getting behind that defense. Oh, you know, or not Preston, but on the other side, Moncrief was getting behind that Liberty pack line D over and over again. He had a nice game, 10 points, 9 rebounds. So big men do eat against this type of defense. And Vanderplas at 6.2 is very solid play. I think in GPPs, he would be also a GPP winner. He's averaging over 30 fantasy points per game. He's making 37% of his triples. He has an 18% assist rate, almost 3% steal rate. So he is a good play at 6.2. And then you got guys like Dwight Wilson, 5.5. Mark Sears is one of those names to store away for later, 4.1. Probably can't use him, but he is going to be a star, not a Preston level star, but there's big things in store for that guy. 2 years from now, if we see him, you know, as a stud, I want you guys to remember this day. And then for Virginia, J Huff, 7.9K, too cheap for him. Even in games where Virginia struggles, he's a boss, man. 40 plus fantasy points in 3 of his last 5 games. You know, rates are great, 35% combined rebound rate, 11.5% block rate, which is top 13. He's a 41% shooter from long range. So you can step out, you can take it down low, you know, do a myriad of things. So I do think Huff is in play at 7.9. He's probably going to go lower owned than he should at that price because it's a 16 gamer. But he's very much in play. I think if, you know, you're playing one of those smaller, you know, later or mid or whatever slates, get Huff into your lineup there. And then Hauser 8.3, you know, he's experienced. He's a 43% shooter on long range, 25.5% shot rate. He's playable. I don't think I would use him, but he's definitely playable. So again, this is a prime spot for an upset just because Virginia hasn't been able to practice much. We're looking at +7 for Ohio. I was hoping to see like a +10, would have been all over it. +7 is probably closer. I don't want to bet against, you know, Bennett, get burned like I did with Jay Wright yesterday. I much prefer the Grand Canyon money line and the Gaucho point line. Sorry, Grand Canyon point line as well. But Ohio at +7 definitely has upside. What are you doing with this one?
Yeah, Hauser and Huff are both in great spots, but I think they're just going to bully the hell out of Ohio. They're much bigger than them, much more tenacious. You know, the better defense. So I don't think I'm going to have anybody out of this game. I guess Huff would be the play. I think I like Hauser better, but Hauser's also $400 more. So Vanderplas is also like decent play, I guess. But there's nobody on this game. I just move right on to Missouri.
All right. Missouri versus Oklahoma. KenPom has 71.70 in favor of Oklahoma. They're 222 tempo ranking, 158 for Missouri. Yeah, again, KenPom doesn't take into account injuries or people out. We know Oklahoma will be without Devion Harmon due to COVID protocol. That puts Alondis Williams, who's 3.8, likely into the starting lineup because Uwakar and Kuath have kind of just been, you know, taking up space. They don't do a lot. Their minutes are down. And Emoja Gibson at 4.5. Gibson's a really streaky shooter, but if he's going to get, you know, absorb a lot of that shot rate left behind by Harmon, which was 22% by Harmon, then I think Gibson is back in play at 4.5. He's done well when guys go down for Oklahoma in the past. Remember, they were shorthanded before with Reeves being out. He has a 42% three-point shooter on 135 attempts. I do like him more than Williams, but the price is a little more, you know, arduous, I guess. It's 4.5. He could definitely still hurt you there, but he should be able to take enough shots to where he does the damage. Williams is interesting because he's 3.8, should play 30 minutes, 30 minutes, but I don't feel confident in either one. They're cheap, but I think I might want to go with Abilene, Iona, Texas Southern value over Oklahoma. I have one of those weird feelings like I did about Howard yesterday that they're not going to come through. For Missouri side, you know, I know that Oklahoma interior D on paper is so solid, but they get beat up in the post a lot. Excuse me. I think Jeremiah Tillman and Kobe Brown are both in play. Tillman's now cheaper than Brown at 5.6. It's a nice buy low spot for him. If he can avoid foul trouble, I think he will beat up on Manic and whatever, you know, scrub combo of Kuath and Uracourt that Kruger wants to use. He is drawing 6.1 fouls per 40 as well. So I do think Tillman makes a fantastic option in all formats, especially GPP. Brown's been hot, we know that, but 6.1, you know, we're asking a lot there. And then Drew Smith at 6.9. Last time he was under 7K, he broke the slate. He's in play. I probably won't use him, but that is a nice price for him. And then Xavier Pinson at 6K is always intriguing. 31% usage rate, 31% shot rate. You got Reeves there at 8.8, Harkless at 6.8. There's a lot of pieces here. This has the game stack written all over it. I'm just not sure if I'll have enough of it in my main, which worries me because this will probably be close. We'll probably see an overtime or two. Exciting game. I just don't know if I'm going to have enough of it in DFS to my liking. What do you think?
I'm kind of excited about seeing this matchup though between Drew Smith and Austin Reeves. I think it's gonna be interesting. They're both the engines that kind of make their teams go. I think they're both great plays. Drew Smith's more of a DFS play, I think, today because it was 6.9 price, and I'm going back and forth on Drew Smith at 6.9. He's the type of player that could crush a slate for us. We've seen that. Is he main team play? That price? This is a tough game, but I agree with you on this Alanis Williams Gibson nonsense too. I think I like Gibson more than Williams. You can't beat that price, but then you said you're going back some of these other value we're seeing, like the Iona guys and stuff. This is a tough one. I think this is going to make or break a lot of lineups today. We've seen Gibson come in do really well. It was like 3 or 4 Saturdays ago. Harkless is too expensive for me, but I like him. I don't know. This is a tough one. This is a tough one for me to decipher here, man. Because I think you want one of these. I can see people playing both Williams and Gibson in their main lineup. I think you probably need one of them because they're getting high projections. I'm seeing projections of Williams over 5 right now. Williams scares me though. I would feel safer with Gibson, but do I play any of them and just go with some of the other values we've already talked about? This is a tough one for me, man. But I think you want somebody out of this game, which maybe end up being Drew Smith.
Yeah,
probably not even making sense right now, but I don't know. I just think that I'm more on Gibson over anybody. I think Gibson would be the pivot over with everybody going to Williams, I think. But I don't know. Gibson's been freaking cold as ice though. I mean, this is gonna make or break a lot of lineups. I think this game. You got to think more about this. You can't beat these prices though on these guys either. I don't know.
Yes, sir. And the nice thing is that it's a 16-game slate, and I know people complained about it, but this is where you got to be happy because if you fade Gibson, even if he ends up being like 25% and he does put up, 4.5x, you can still beat it. I mean, Justin Smith put up 65 yesterday. I ended up fading him for value and late, and it hurt, but I still cashed everything. So you're able to escape these plays that you don't feel comfortable about. It's a high leverage spot if you do fade. But if they do well, you can still beat it as long as the guys that you use, the Tracy Carters, Joni Broom, all make value, then you're still going to be okay. So you do have room for error more on the 16-game slate, which maybe doesn't make sense when you more games, more mistakes, but there's just less ownership to go around. And that's why I was so happy about this. So if you're not comfortable using one of those values, you can get away from them. And even if they break it, you're okay. I mean, if they drop 60 or something, then yeah, you're dead. But you can escape a 4.5x from one of those guys and be okay.
I think if anybody would be Gibson.
I don't think Williams is putting up 60 anytime.
No, he's not. And I think if anything, Gibson's probably going to absorb some of Hartman's shooting than over Williams. So I probably would play Gibson if I was going to play any of them. But I could see some people playing both of them. They're so high projected on some of these projections I'm seeing.
Yeah, and I'm not going to use both, and maybe that's where we're different today from the field. Norfolk State versus Gonzaga. We're going to quickly go through this one. Ken Palm has at 93.63. They're 4th in Temple ranking. Norfolk State 215th. Norfolk State you can safely avoid. I know you like Joe Bryant. He's a pretty good player. But and Devontae Carter, I'm hearing some chatter on him because he's another low major, 16 seed that his price has dumped. It hasn't dumped enough, though. He's still a little too high for me. He's going to shoot the ball a ton. So for GPP, sure. And then Gonzaga side, they're all GPP plays. They're all too high priced. They're going to blow this team out. They'll probably be up big time, maybe not even by halftime. It might be a little low at halftime. So people on Twitter can say, oh my God. But then they're going to blow them out by 25-30 in the second half because Gonzaga is a second half team. They kind of coast through the first half. And then the second half, it's like they give these teams false hope. And then they stick their foot on their throats. And all of a sudden you're like, damn, they won by 40. How did that happen? So Timmy, Suggs, Kispert, Ayad, Nemhart are your playable guys, but they're all priced up, blowout. I'm going to be avoiding. It's been safe to avoid Gonzaga for a while. We don't need to worry about playing them until we're in a closer game, which may not come until the Sweet 16 or Elite 8 because they're probably going to pile drive the winner of Missouri, Oklahoma. Either way. I just don't see either team competing with them. So I don't have a lot to say about this game other than I'm fading it.
Yeah, I'm fading it too. I do like Joe Bryant, but he's not going to. No, I'm not playing anybody from this game.
All right, next game, UCLA versus BYU. Ken Palm has a 71-68 in favor of BYU. UCLA is 334, BYU 200. We saw UCLA win a hard-fought game, a nice comeback against Sparty. Big news here, Johnny Juzang suffered a late game ankle injury. He's questionable to play today. Even if he plays, that type of injury will slow somebody. I like Jules Bernard at 6'5" a lot more than the rest of the industry. I probably won't use him, but Bernard has come back from a little break and he's killed it. 30 plus fantasy points in 3 of his last 4. He's doing really well. So I think he's the best play, even better than, Jacquez, who had a really big game. Campbell still projects well at 5'4", but I'm not falling for that. He has a really great assist rate at 30.5, but his shot rate and overall shooting percentage just isn't that good. And then on BYU, there's some interesting spots here. Barcella at 7'2" is probably underpriced. He's always, low owned. I could see him doing well. He's almost a 50% 3-point shooter on 100 attempts. That's 11th best in the country. Caleb Lohner's got a bright future at 5'2". I would probably consider him. But then you have Harms at 6K. Matt Harms has tournament experience with Purdue. He's got 30 plus fantasy points in 3 of his last 4. This BYU team's pretty inexperienced overall. They lost a lot of guys from last year. So Harms is probably going to play 30 plus minutes if he can stay out of foul trouble. They're going to need him here. Cody Riley's a fouler, so I think they'll bring Harms in probably still off the bench, get Riley in foul trouble, and then let him go to work. He's got a 24.6% shot rate, 23% usage rate, 8.8% block rate. He's drawing 4.5 fouls per 40. I do like Harms for a big game here. Now, with that being said, I'm probably not brave enough to roll him out there, and I'll do some pretty reckless things at times with my main lineup because I don't really care about cash that much. I'll play it, but I play who I want. Back to that again. And so I like Harms, but I don't know if I'm going to use him here because at the same token, he could very well, get himself in foul trouble as well. But he's looked great lately. And then Brandon Averett at 5'5", 24% shot rate, 24% assist rate, 24% usage rate. Those are good rates for a 5'5" player. I think we can do better, but he's definitely in the player pool. So what do you think?
Yeah, but I'm not going to have anybody, I don't think, for this game either. I think Barcelo's definitely in play. And I love I do like the Harms call. The experience with his blocks. I like Jamie Jacquez, and he showed actually he showed in the Michigan State game when Juzang got hurt. He kind of took over that team, and I've always thought all year it's Jacquez's team. So, but I like the comment you just made actually, and it's a good point about Cody Riley coming in and fouling Harms. And we've been through that parade with Cody Riley before. So I guess if anybody come out of this game, I think I would have leaned Matt Harms. But I don't think I'm going to have anybody in this game in the main lineup. It's kind of a blog game, But Harms is a nice call. He's $1,200 cheaper than Barcelo.
Yeah, and the pictures that are in the background of us talking, you guys see, we don't pick those. It's kind of just a surprise for us. We just tell them who the games are and they pick, and they did pick Matt Harms as the so maybe that's an omen. He's blocking
block shot.
Real quick before we go to the next game, just a couple questions here. One person says no Manic love with a question mark. He's too high priced. He projects at like low 3x. We can spend our money a lot better places than Manic, in my opinion. If he goes off, then I will go and find Martin Drake. Yeah, you're right. But you're playing with fire if you play Brady Manic today.
6'4" too high.
4.4, 4.5 all day long, but 6'4", I am not paying that for Brady Manic. And then Aiken or Vanderplas. I think we both are in agreement that would be Aiken here.
Aiken, definitely.
Yeah. All right. So next game, Abilene Christian versus Texas. Ken Palm has a 74-66 in favor of Texas. A little closer than I would have thought. 138 Texas, 102 for Abilene. Now, I seem to be the only one, and I've been picking a lot of upsets because that's what I do. Abilene's plus 8.5, by the way, which I think a lot of people are betting. The defense of Abilene Christian is tough. They're a very good defense, and this has become a trendy upset pick. People are picking over Texas, but here's the thing: Texas is the anti-Ohio State, and I seem to be on the opposite end of the talking heads because everybody is Ohio State's hot. They're going to go far, and I was like, what? I don't see it. With Texas, they are actually hot, and nobody's talking about them being hot. They just won the Big 12 tourney. Matt Coleman's out here scoring 30 real points. Shout out to you because you were on Coleman all season long. You finally jump off, and then the guy starts going ham. The hell. And this Texas team, I feel like this Texas team's primed for a big tournament run, and nobody is giving them credit. So it's almost become contrarian to go with the high major Texas here. I do think Abilene could win. Sure, anybody can beat anyone. We saw that yesterday, but I think Texas, they're too good. They're too hot right now. You got to ride with the hot tournament team. We just saw with Oregon State, they're hot coming in. They just pile drive Tennessee. I do like some Abilene Christian options here, especially Colton Cole. I've had a pretty long conversation last night before I conked out for a few hours with somebody that I respect a lot about Colton Cole and being a main team play. And they like his rates like I do, but they're a little worried about the minutes. But, people were worried yesterday about Blake Preston's minutes, and he had the great rates. We had the conversation. He'd be a great play if he played. He did play the minutes. We're in do or die mode right now. There is no tomorrow. It's survive in advance, win now or go home. So I think Cole, and we saw Preston get big minutes. So the guys who produce are going to play minutes. That's why maybe a Jacob Davidson for EW does play big minutes today. Why Colton Cole today does play 30 minutes. Cole is, ACU plays about 8-9 guys over 20-ish minutes. Pretty big problem because that's a lot of guys. So Cole's upside may be hurt, but he only needs 19 minutes to pay off this 4-6, maybe even less. 19 is kind of just a safe projection there. He has a 29.5% usage rate, 31% shot rate, 18.5% assist rate, 6.3% block rate, and he's drawing a whopping 6.7 fouls per 40 at 4-6. And I know Abilene has been beating up on the cupcake teams, a lot of them. So their numbers are juiced. I get that. But if everybody's going to be picking Abilene to beat Texas anyway, who the hell is it going to be on the back of? Reggie Miller? This isn't Reggie Miller from UCLA, Indiana. And I know he's good, but Colton Cole is the dude, man. Reggie Miller's rates are pretty crappy, honestly. Colton Cole's rates are the best on the team. And even Aaron Simmons at 3.8, he's had 20 plus fantasy points in 3 straight. He's got a 22% usage rate, a 23% shot rate, a 23.5% defensive rebounding rate. Those two guys are cash plays. And I just don't see enough people looking to them, but yet they're picking Abilene to win. It's like, it's not computing for me. If you think they're going to win, it will be on the back of those two guys. So if you're picking ACU to win today, you better have Colton Cole in your lineup because he will be the reason that they win. Reggie Miller, Joe Pleasant, and Corian Mason are all under 5.5 in play in various forms. Miller's a 40% shooter, doesn't offer much else. Pleasant's a 24% shot rate. Mason has a 21% shot rate. So that's the ACU rundown there for those of you who aren't familiar with this team. Texas is probably all priced out. 6.9 for Jones, 7.7 for Sims. Matt Coleman, 8K. What? Coleman's killing it right now, but those are all too high prices for me. So I do think Texas wins, but I'm going to play some ACU guys at these prices, especially if I'm wrong about Texas winning.
I'm not sure if you mentioned Cole's got his usage is over 30%. And it's even higher the last few games. And he's really improved as a player too. So I can dig that as a call 4-6, definitely. You know else on the other, so he's the only guy I would play on the Abilene Christian side, but he's close. He's gonna get 20 minutes and playing against two big guys. These big guys Texas is gonna throw at you. We're probably gonna see more minutes. Jericho Sims, he's been really playing good basketball too, huh? This little 5-game winning streak they got going, he's averaging 12 points and 8 rebounds per game. And Coleman, our Big 12 MVP, term MVP, 8K. His projection is, am I gonna pay $8,000 for GVP? Definitely. And he's showing it. I mean, he's got beside that the Oklahoma game, he's had that awesome 4 all season. I imagine we're gonna see him at Price Picks today too, at the same price, at the same number. I hadn't looked yet, but Coleman's a top GPP play, definitely. But I could see Cole come out of here. I'm seeing other people think he's a GPP play. I think Cole could be a cash play at 4-6. Yeah. Definitely.
All right. So that's where we stand on that game.
There's your zig when everybody's zagging with Oklahoma, with your Gibson and Williams and stuff too, possibly. I know he's a forward, but that could be your leverage play there.
Definitely. So a very polarizing game, people on opposite ends of the spectrum. But yeah, I definitely am on board with the ACU guys. Last game, the Hammer, VCU versus Oregon. Should be a close one. Ken Palm has a 70-69 for Oregon. They're 242 tempo ranking. VCU 110. Bones Highland, man. 8.1 is very cheap for Bones, but I find myself having a hard time trying to find how to get him in because I am prioritizing Osen over him for the same price. And maybe that's a mistake because in March, guards, reign supreme. Oregon defense is solid, especially on the perimeter. But I mean, we saw Bones in the A10 championship against the Bonnies. Hit 3 fouls in the first half, I believe. And he's
crushed.
still wound up.
Yep.
He's still crushed. The second half, he put up like damn near 30 fantasy points. So if he plays a full, complete game, we do have slate breaking upside at 8-1 here. Usage rate over 28%, shot rate over 31%. He's making 37% of his triples, which he's taking 186. So he's definitely in play, and nobody's going to play him. Adrian Baldwin, 5'5". He was chalk last slate. He busted. He'll be chalk again. I think that there are just better plays. He's a floor play. He's going to get you that 15 to 18, which is fine. But there's just no upside there. 26.6% assist rate, solid. 18% usage rate. 5'5" cheap, but I think there's better plays that we can look at. Oregon's, and then Vince Williams, 5'8". I always like him, 41% 3-point shooter. And then Jameer Watkins, 4K. He's got a 21.5% usage rate at 23.5% shot rate. 4K is kind of an interesting price for him. GPP, shot in the dark, I suppose, if he gets the minutes. And then Oregon, it's really Chris Duarte, 7'3", which is cheap for him. Eugene Omarui, 7'8", cheap for him. Figueroa, 6'7", and Eric Williams, 5'9". I have no issues with any of those four guys, especially as your hammer play. Omarui's had a fantastic season. 30-plus fantasy points, 3 of his last 4, 29% usage, 29% shot rate. He's drawing 5 fouls per 40. I do think he could have a big game against his VCU front court. That has a lot of guys that are just going to use their fouls to try to slow him down. If Amari gets into the foul line, he'll just rack up points there. So I do like him better than Duarte for 500 more. I can see Duarte and Bones kind of battling it out here, but defensively both do enough to potentially slow down the other. So I am less likely to use those guys in my main lineup as opposed to Amarui, but I think all 3 of them are firmly in play today. So hammer options galore. Are you going to have exposure here?
Bro, your dog is funny, man. He hasn't stopped since.
Yeah, she's nuts.
He's awesome. I don't know what he's chewing on, but he's been going. All right, sorry. I think I do want a piece of this hammer game. And if you think VCU is going to stay with Oregon, then Bones is the play. I think people are going to go with Baldwin, and it is a decent price on Baldwin. And I think we saw a low game from him on Sunday when most of us played him. I think I did. He's a floor player. He's going to get you 40 minutes. But I would rather go with Bones if I had the money. Definitely, I think I want to try to get him in somewhere. And these other Oregon guys, I think EO is the play. I don't know, Duarte's been kind of disappointing me a little bit. They're all like the problem. These Oregon guys like Figueroa, they could get anything from 20 to 35 for you. And I think I need some more than that in my hammer game. I think EO would be the one that would give it to you. I think. Just Duarte, I mean, against Arizona State, he didn't have that great of a game, but then his price isn't bad. He should be able to hit 4x for us. You want somebody, I think you probably want somebody from Oregon. It's a matter of, to me, they're all so close, EO, Figueroa, and Duarte. But if I'm going to spend 78, might as well just go to Bones.
Yeah, that's very true.
You know what I mean? If you have that money, you're not going to get two. I don't think for this last game, you're not going to have money for 2 8K guys. So is it Bones or EO? I'm going to go with Bones, I guess. I think Bones is a better play than Duarte also. Even it's also $800 difference though. But if you have the money, you go to Bones, and that's your hammer. And Bones is the type of guy that could be a great late night hammer.
Yeah, most definitely. All right, so that wraps up the slate. Core wise, right now I'm leaning Midgard, Weathers. I think it's too cheap, and then I do have Osen penciled in there because I like to have a lower owned guy in the core. So it's not just a carbon copy of everyone else. But you're going to want multiple pieces of that Bonnie's LSU game. I feel like that's today's, Colgate, Arkansas / Oral Roberts, Ohio State. Expect multiple 35 plus scores. So the more you get, the better. And then really, like I had said earlier, my posh play of the day is Corey McLaughlin from the Gauchos. I feel pretty good about him. He's not a core, but it's no secret that I'm going to be using him. So let's talk about prize picks now. Pull that up. I need to update the article because last night when I did it, there was no board yet. It is up now. There's also disc golf and JLI, which we were joking around before the show. If you guys are into that kind of thing. The two, well, actually there's 3. That we like right off the bat. Kyle Lofton, I feel over 26.5 fantasy points. That's just way too low for him. He's going to be over 30 pretty much 90% of the time. Single points, Oshuni is only 10.5. I think he's going to score a good amount off putbacks today. he's more of a peripheral type of guy, but 10.5 is really low for him in this particular matchup. And then I like Corey McLaughlin. If he's going to lead them over Creighton today, 14.5 single points, he's going to be a 20-point scorer, and he typically is. So I like the over on that as well. There are other options, Weathers, 16.5 single points. Who are some other guys that maybe you're looking at?
Well, I did put in the three you just said in my price picks.
Awesome.
Which McLaughlin over 14.5, Oshuni over 10.5, and Laughlin over 25. And anybody, I think so. I just saw somebody. And I got I think we're safe for the three you already mentioned. I just don't want to give a score. A score just to give a score either. Nobody's like really jumping out at me beside those three. It's a little bit tight. What do you think about now? Like Baji at 23. No.
Yeah, it's close because he's going to have to score it to get there on Agbaji, but it's there. And then Yosefu, if you think they're going to hang with USC, 26.8 fantasy points.
There you go. Yeah,
Yosefu can hit over. But all the rest are pretty close, like you said.
What do you think about Weathers 29 fantasy?
I like that.
I'd rather do just Yosefu.
Yeah, and Weathers single points. Let me pull that back up because I had it, but I just forgot. His single point total looked pretty solid. 16.5. So he's going to also be a guy that has to score a lot. That might be a little too high though. His single point 16.5 is that he's going to be like a 15 to 18 scorer. So I do like him though. If you're looking for a flex play, like a 5-play flex play, you could add Weathers to it. All right, Prize Picks. Now, this is the time. If you guys have questions, we still have just over an hour. So we did it. We did this early, so you guys still have time to finalize lineups.
Corey wants to know about Will Richardson in his minutes.
Corey he's always on these Oregon guards, man. He was all on.
He's a play. 6'4". He's a play. He's gonna get 35 to 40 minutes.
He's gonna play. His price is up now, though. I mean, you're 6'4" in it with so many other options in that range that don't have to share the ball with 4 other guys.
Yeah, there's other plays I would definitely take over him. I mean, it's not a bad play, but there's many guys in that 6K range I would take over Williams.
I would like it better if Eric Williams was out because he's going to take some usage, but he's firmly behind Figueroa, Duarte, and Amarui for touches. So he's in play GPP all the way, but he's not somebody I'm prioritizing by any means. All right, so stream wise, we'll probably end up with a morning podcast tomorrow. We'll have to see if there's anybody available. What's today? Is today Saturday? Yeah, it is. So we'll see. There's round 2 starts tomorrow. It's Sunday, Monday this time. We won't leave you guys hanging. We'll be back tomorrow with something, podcast perhaps, article out later. Lots going on. We had a really, like I said, nice day yesterday. Multiple takedowns amongst the community. Let's bounce back and do it again today. I think we have some very solid, leverage spots. We know where the chalk is going to be amongst the industry. Make sure you're in that premium college Discord. Starters have been a little harder to come by. We don't have the stat broadcast and the sidearms, so we haven't been able to report starters as well. But we're also, pretty firm in knowing who the starters are for these teams at this point, unless there's an injury. So we haven't been burned by it yet. Knock on wood. Hopefully it continues. But any late breaking news will be posted there. If you're not a premium member yet, there's still time. You saw the day we had yesterday. This will continue. Still half off, so $25 gets you, a month of premium access to Discord, Prize Picks articles, cheat sheets, all that good stuff. Every sport, NHL, MLB, college, the lot, JLI, all that good stuff. So, Pete, any final words before we head out?
No, another big slate. I may tackle some of the middle, like the afternoon game stuff too. This slate, it's a long day slate for this all, but hey, it's fun. 16 games, right? So yeah, good luck everybody.
And I would definitely recommend playing those like 4-game afternoon or 4-game later slates, because that was what I did yesterday with that 4-game afternoon and had some success. Yeah. You can afford to play a little bit more random and some stuff that you don't want to do on your main. You can use those slates to try those lineups out that you were a little more interested in or had eye upside. So
that's 6:30 is like an 8-game slate. So that looks like a good one to play to 6:30, 6:25.
For sure. Especially if your main slate ends early, you still have opportunities to continue.
Yep, there you go.
So, all right, guys. Well, I appreciate everybody. We'll be back tomorrow with some type of show. I promise you that. Thanks for the support. All 30 plus of you that watched us live, best of luck today. And let's go out and win some more money so that we can post another screenshot tweet later of all the winners. See ya.
All right, good luck.
Bum, bum, bum.